stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118:22. Hello everybody. Welcome back. I see that I have some new subscribers, so I'm really excited about that. So I was really inspired to do a couple of videos that I want to do over the next week. One in particular that I want to cover today is regarding Psalm 118 verse 22, regarding the cornerstone, or what they also refer to in Christianity as the capstone. Now that verse has been mentioned a couple of times in the scriptures, both the original Testament, the writings of our people, as well as the Newer Testament. It's mentioned in the book of Acts as well, and they refer to the capstone. Now I don't know about you, but I've always been perplexed about that particular verse. Sorry about that. I've always been perplexed about that verse, and I always wondered, well, when I read it in Acts, it just really, I just found it very perplexing. I just said to myself, what does it mean? Now, the narrative that we're given, when you're a Christian, in the world of Christianity, they say typically that, when I was a Christian, what I was told, and I'm sure you probably were told the same thing or something comparable, similar, is that the capstone has everything to do with, the resurrection of Jesus, Christ. That story is not quite correct in terms of that narrative. That is the narrative that they have, kind of run with for a very long time. But it's time to, again, lift the veil and get to the heart of the matter to find out what it really means. So we're just going to, get right to it here without delay. So let's get started. And I think you're going to find this video extremely interesting, by the way. So that's why I wanted to cover it. So in this particular verse, I'm going to refer to the NAB version. And the NAB version just says, this is the New American Bible version. It says, most of the versions that you get in your more modern translations today, under the new, NWD, New World Disorder Translation, rather than the New World Order, that most of them are pretty much the same. They're all repetitive. So that's why I'm also going to show you this particular translation from an older Bible as well. But the verse is pretty, it's pretty repetitive throughout these translations. For example, the NAB version says, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. If we go up to, let's say, the KJV version, we get pretty much the same, but it's a little bit slightly different. It says, the KJV version, it says, the stone which the builders refuse is become the headstone of the corner. And that's the one I'm going to use to do the translation on. But, I want to just cover a couple more. As you can see, even the Jewish Bible, their version says a little bit different, but pretty much the same thing. The very rock that the builders reject, they just replaced it, rock with stone with rock, has become the cornerstone. So, and they're pretty much the same, you'll find throughout all these translations. But one translation I found really interesting here is this one, and this is the TLB, which I believe stands for the Living Bible, and it says, the stone rejected by the builders has now become the capstone of the ark. Now that is a very, very interesting, and that I notice it seems to be the only translation that uses the word ark, and we're going to talk about that as well. But for all intents and purposes, for this translation, I'm going to focus on the KJV version, because that's the version I get when I go on the Blue Letter. So again, so the verse 22 of Psalm 118 says, I'm going to read it, the stone which the builders refused is become the headstone of the corner. So let's start with the word stone to kind of gain an understanding of what that word means. So the word stone, if we look at it in our Shemitic, Western Shemitic language, Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew, that in concordance is concordance 68, and it's taken from the root eben, it says here. So let's take a look at that. So when we look at that word stone, in the Hebrew it's eben. And again, I mentioned this in some of my previous videos, that in order to understand what we're reading, brothers and sisters, we really have got to understand, we have to get back to, in order to really understand what is here in the scriptures, we can't read just from the surface, because from the surface there is a filter, okay? And we've got to, in order to really break through that filter, lift the veil, so to speak, we need to understand the ancient, language of our people, the Shemitic language they called Hebrew. And that is really key, because once you begin to understand the ancient Hebrew, language of our, ancestors, I'm telling you, I mean, it just completely, I mean, you're going to see things in the, in the letters of our people, the writings, the ancient, historical records. You're going to see things that it's just going to, I don't even know how to explain it, but it is going to astonish you. I mean, you're going to find things that you have never before noticed. There's just so much to understand. And I mean, even for the fact that, we're taught in Christianity that the history of our people, they call the Israelites. I rather say the Yisraelites, and that we'll talk about that another time, why I use that particular term instead, because it's more from the ancient language of our people. I don't like to use the term, Israelites or Israelites, but I'll use it for all intents and purposes for the people that are used to hearing it. But they tend to tell you the original people, our people, known as the Israelites. The Israelites, they that we were pretty much living in what they call today the so-called Middle East. Well, guess what? That's just not true. I mean, if you understand about our territory that was given to us, it expands much farther than the the land of what they call today, Israel, modern Israel. I mean, I don't know if you've ever talked to anyone that has traveled to Israel, lived in Israel, but I mean, they say that you can drive, actually in 6 hours, you can drive through the land, the country of Israel. So, I mean, let's think about that. It's pretty small. And when you read the scriptures, I mean, and you read, especially in Genesis, the land, the designated land that our Creator, our Father in Heaven, gave to our people, it just, the expansion on it is well beyond a 6-hour drive through Israel. It pretty much encompasses most of the East, most of what they call the so-called Middle East, and that even some of our borders go into, even in Africa, the northeastern part of Africa, and it expands also into the Americas. And this is something that has been hidden from our people for obvious reasons. And by the way, all of these lands, America is mentioned in the writings of our people. Now, I know you guys are hearing this and saying, wait a minute, say what? I mean, really? Absolutely. And again, all of this has been shrouded in, pretty much codified in the writings of our people. But like I said, we are going to lift this filter and help, our people understand the truth. Okay, so I don't want to digress, but I did want to mention that yes, the lands that we're living in today, brothers and sisters, in North America, is mentioned in the writings of our people and our current, state, okay, of what we're dealing with right now. So we're going to talk about that. I don't like to use the word tribulation because it's not what, again, Christians you know, how they really use the terminology, you know, the term tribulation. But what we're dealing with today, right now, in the lands of our people, it's real. And yes, all of this has been prophesied. You know, it's been really prophesied by our people, you know, over 3,000 years ago. This whole thing was prophesied. So I am going to cover that, and I think you're going to find that video. We're going to talk about the prophecy of Abraham, and you're going to really love that video. It's going to be a very, very cool video. It's definitely going to break down a wall of something that probably was, you know, rattling around and perplexing your brain as much as it was perplexing mine, about the whole prophecy of Abraham, when the Most High spoke to him about our people. But we'll talk about that in another video. So let's cover this and keep it going. But like I was saying, that the word, you know, Eben, this word, what's interesting about this word is if you look up the root etymology for it, okay, it says to build, but that word to build stems from this word, a Hebrew word is known as banah, or the wicked scribes, you know, the wicked scribes, the rabbis that got a hold of our writings, you know, around the, you know, 8th, you know, 9th, 10th century, whatever. They changed the word to ben. That's why you hear son, and you know, banah is derived from that word, which basically means, the word means son. Okay, and in the Shemitic, Western Shemitic language of our people, it's banah. They, of course, because they have corrupted the, you know, so much of our language, they use the word ben. Okay, but it is banah. Now, it means son, and it means some other things too. So let's talk about that. Let's see if I can cover it here. Yeah, I'll cover it. So when we look at that word banah, if we look at it in the language of our people, so because that's where the word derives from, this word they use in stone. I hope everybody gets this. I'm going to go back here. That word Eben, remember I said that banah, they changed it to ben, but in the Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew, it is banah, okay? But they use ben. Now, you got to wonder, well, where did they get ben from? You know, was it a wordplay? Yeah, it was a wordplay, but they got it from someplace else, and we're gonna talk about that as well. But this word, you know, meaning to build here, I just want to show you that it also means sons, but in here it means other, you know, various other things aside from that. You know, it's where the word stone, they're using for the word stone, but it also means headstone, carbuncle, which is supposedly the gem, you know, hailstones, diverse weights. We'll talk about that another time, what that means, or not. I covered that in another video. The last video I did, we talked about that word, because if you look at that word weight, that word means something else. It doesn't mean what you think it means. And I covered that in a more recent video, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now. But in this term, it also can mean masons. So that's where you wonder where, okay, well, where, you know, the whole origin of Freemasons and where all that comes from. Okay, and a lot of them, you know, a lot of their so-called secret knowledge comes from, you know, Kemet, you know, the land of Egypt. But in this, for all intents and purposes, yes, it can mean Masons, but that's where that word derives from, sons, Masons. That's where the word, you know, if you think about it, Masons, where the word sons, as in Masons, kind of derives from this word banah, which means sons. But in this particular translation, it also means, I want to show you, let's go back here. Okay, so this word stone is being used. Now, I was going to show you something on this, but I'm just trying to think if I want to do that. Yeah, I want to show you exactly what it means in this translation. But before I do that, I want you to also note what it can mean. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's go to the two-word lookup. And when we go to the two-word lookup, and if I look up that word banah, so let's do a quick lookup on that. So now if I just typed in, like, you know, if I was looking it up under the using the consonants of our language, like, let's just say if I used all three consonants, B, N, H, no vowel points, I get this word again, like I said, from the root banah, okay, the origin of the word, and it says build, but in here it doesn't refer to anything regarding relative to sons. It just says build. rebuild, house, and so on. However, if I just use, all I need is just the prefix, of the word, the root of the word, and just type in just the first two letters, the first two consonants rather, instead of the third consonant, the H. Here's what I get. It gives me more information, okay, in terms of translation. So I get Ben. Remember I said they use the word Ben for son a lot, and you can see it means, here it means, the Ben word means son, grandson, so on. So you get a lot more meaning behind it. Now here's what's very interesting. Now down here, you get, because there's several different, they give you several different words for it. Again, you get the build, and you keep going down to back here. Here you see the word banat again, okay? And here it says primitive root. And they're using it here as a verb. However, if you go up here, okay, it's being used as a masculine noun from the word, again, the word is banat. Now what's interesting is when you just type in the two prefixes, the first two letters, or excuse me, I'm sorry, consonants, what we get is, it tells us it's a son, but it can also mean what? Sons, as in plural, as characterization. For example, sons of injustice, for unrighteous men, or sons of God, for angels. Now you gotta ask yourself a question, okay? It not only means sons, as in, male sons, or sons, or, of men, but it also can mean sons of God. Okay, so that's interesting, right? Also means people, or it could be people of a nation. Okay, so I wanted to just show you that. You get a much deeper understanding of the word here. Now, let's go a little further here. So also, and it says here, of lifeless things. For example, stars. Stars, again, in the that's just been coded for the word angels. They tend to use stars a lot for the word angels. Okay, now here's something I want to show you. I think you're going to find very interesting. We look at the word stars. If you even look at that word stars, S-T-A-R, okay, just the word star itself. Now, in the language of our people, if we got rid of the vowel points and just the consonants, and just, again, the first two letters of that word, you get ST, okay? Like the word stone. The first two letters of that word, the consonants, is ST. So if we got rid of the vowel pointings, notice, we have just the ST, in the end. But if we just focus on the first two, okay, we can actually focus on all three here in this particular case. What do we get? In our language, that word is sata. Okay, now you're saying, whoa. Again, this is when you have to, when you begin to understand our language, you begin to read the scriptures with a Shemitic mindset. Because what we need to do is we need to erase the we need to erase the Christian mindset and focus more and read with a Shemitic mind. Okay, because we've been educated with we've been essentially Europeanized. Okay, so we read with a European or Englishman's mindset. Do you understand? Because what did we learn? Okay, our people, we learned, okay, English. All right. Well, some of our people, many of our people, we were already here. We had tribes that were already here, okay? There's plenty of history that supports that fact, that our people, we have many tribes already here in terms of the children, the sons of Jacob, children of Jacob. So the point I'm making is, but when we met with our enemies that came over here, they taught us their language. So we eventually, forgot, the Shemitic, dialect, language of our people, and began to speak, an English mind Okay, so now it's really, again, undoing everything that you have been miseducated and, you know, to learn now with the Shemitic mind. And now you're going to be reading with the Shemitic mind once you begin to understand the language. So because our language is a consonantal language, and I covered this in some previous videos, I tend to repeat that because it's very important to understand all of this, and it's very heavy. It's hard to understand if you do not understand the language, but because it's a consonantal language, if you read this as, you know, with a Shemitic mind, okay, that word is sata, because the S, okay, for the S and for the T. So if you read it now, if you read it with all three consonants, S, T, and N, not the vowel points, not O and E, you get sat. Again, in the Shemitic language of our people, this word stone would be satana or shot, because remember, S really wasn't that was something, you know, the Englishmen added, okay? And they got hold of our writings. They made changes, okay, to our language. So our people spoke not with the S sound, but with more of the sh sound, SH sound, as in Shemite, okay? So this would be shatana, or you could say, you know, with the English, you could say sat, but in English, what is it? What is the word? It is Satan, Satan, or Satan. Now, in our language, this would be, if you said this in Hebrew, our language, the ancient Hebrew, it would be Satana, okay, with all three consonants, if that makes sense. Satana, okay? You could drop the third consonant and just keep the first two, and it's Sata. Does that make sense to you? If you understand the Hebrew, yes. And again, I could go right into the concordance on this, but I'm not, because I don't have time. And I've actually done videos on all this. I've done some videos on this that covers all of this too, in the language a little bit deeper, and covers that term, that word, the word sata. So I'm not going to talk about it today, okay, but I did want to show you that word stone also in the Shemitic language, again, it's a filter. The English language, remember this, brothers and sisters, it is a filter, okay, and they codified it in our own writings. You know, they hid a lot of this from our people, and this is why most people do not understand what they read when they read the scriptures. But for all intents and purposes, this is what you're looking at. The word on the surface, it says stone, but if you look at it with the Shemitic mind, it is much more than that. That stone means more, and I'm going to prove it to you as well. Okay, so we're going to keep going here, but so that's what that word means. Now, even if you look at the word star, that is in the word star, sata, okay? So it's interesting, right? Because remember, you know, all that word means is, most people don't even understand, you know, the word means accuser. So, you know, the word covers more than just one thing, because what they want you to think is that it is just related to Lucifer, but it's also related to his children, okay? But we ain't gonna talk about that right now. But at any rate, we're gonna keep this going. When we talk about the stone, for this particular translation, the stone is referring to, like I said, you know, I showed you that word bana. Now, so for this particular word, stone, that's what it means, okay? The word stone means bana, it means sun, okay? Or sata, or sun, okay? So this, you know, so we can say the stone or the sun or sata, okay? Or you could say the sun, because remember, the word comes from iban, bana, which the builders, okay, the builders, again, here's that word again, bana. Now they just tell you the word outright, bana. And by the word, this word means a lot more than just that. They also tend to intertwine, okay, the B with the V, and you have to understand the reason why they intertwine that is it comes from the Greek, okay, the Greek language. B eventually became V in Greek. All right, so and also that also comes from to the Cyrillic, you know, their early Slavic or Cyrillic Russian language. But they tend to interchange the B with the V, okay? So that's why, and the reason why I'm telling you this is because that word Eben also means, there's another word you see in the writings of our people. Also, they use the word for a word called Aven, okay? A-V-E-N, A as in Vita, okay, the Greek. A-V-E-N as opposed to B-E-N, okay? And that word means wickedness, okay? So just so you know, it's really, essentially it's the same word, but they interchange it. You know, they just swap out the B and swap out the V. They tend to interchange the B also with the V. Now, how do you know this? Well, let's take the word. If you look at the word in Israel, there is a place called Tel Aviv, okay? And that word, you would, in our language, is Tel Aviv, okay? B-I-B, but they spell it Tel Aviv with a V, as in, you know, a very ridiculous mistake. One of our people once said. It's kind of funny, but true. But so that's just to help you understand that. So that word means much more than that, okay? But we ain't gonna get into that right now. But that's also mentioned in the writings of our people as well. But that's why I want you to understand that. So, but for this purpose, it's son, okay? And that's why they're using the word bana, okay? Because that's where they're getting the translation. But, you know, you need to understand what son they're talking about. And it says, which the builders, okay? And there's the word bana. Now, the reason why I brought up that word bana, okay, builders, is because, like I said, when you look up that word here, okay, and here it just gives you concordance 1129 for bana, and it just tells you, it means build, means children, you know, builder, so on, repair, whatever. So, but the word means son. But like I said, the word also can mean sons of God, okay, sons. So, and the reason why that's pretty important, you know, that's important, is because, you know, the reason why that's really important is because for this particular translation, let me go back here. It was in the middle of that translation here. And the reason why that translation is really important is that for this particular one, the builders, and see that word has been plural, okay? So it's referring to, it's not singular, it's plural, it's referring to more than one son. So that's why it's sons of God. That's what it's referring to, okay? Refused or rejected, okay? That's what that word, ma'ak. Okay, now in our language, pronunciation of it is ma'as, okay? Now, where have you seen that word for? Now, again, if you look at it for the Shemitic mind, that word ma'as, in you know, our Shemitic language would be ma'asa, ma'sa, okay? We ain't gonna get into, you know, all the various meanings for that word, but in this particular reason, now what they tend to do also is they tend to interchange the S with the SH. Like I said, we didn't use the S, we use the SH, okay, sh. But again, because of the corruption of the wicked scribes that got a hold of our writings, they changed it and added an S instead. And a lot of this was changed. They did a lot of word plays and changing around with the consonants. They played around with the consonants, as well as the vowel points to hide a lot of this information. You understand? So, the other thing is they tend to interchange the S sometimes with the C. So that's why it's pronounced as ma'as, but the transliteration here is ma'ak, okay? But it's pronounced with an S sound, okay? So, ma'ak, but, you know, the pronunciation is ma'as, okay? But it means here to reject, refuse, okay? Now, it means much more than that, okay? Because if we continue to look at the definition, okay, ma'as, okay, it tells us it also means to despise, abhor, cast away. So why is that really, really important? Cast away. Because who was cast out of heaven? Okay? So that's why in this particular verse it is referring to, sorry about that, this particular verse is referring to one son, and as the stone in this case, and the builders, like I said, stone or sata. Okay, if we looked at the Shemitic root of this word, that's where it's deriving from. You know, you always wonder, think about it. Our people were not allowed to worship stones, were we not? Our ancestors were not allowed to worship stones in the ancient world. You understand why? Because you have to understand what that word really means. Okay, so we'll keep it going. Anything made of stone, because it was idolatrous. Okay, and then it says, which the builders, and again, builders being plural, not singular here for bana in the sons, and I showed you it can also mean sons, as in sons of God. I showed you in the translation here as well. So the son, the builders rejected, okay, or cast away, cast, okay, but they use the word refused, or they use the word rejected, okay, is become the head stone of the corner. Now, it's become the head. So head, covered is in another video. You know what head means if you've been watching my videos. Head is another word for this word, Strong's Concordance 7218, which means Rosh. Okay, and we already know, I covered what that word means. Okay, so Rosh, you know, it means head, it means chief. Okay, here's what's interesting. It means head of a man. It could mean head, top, or top of a mountain. Okay, height of stars. Remember I said stars is, you know, can be used. It's used also, referred to for angels in the writings of our people. Okay, also can mean chieftain, head of a man, a city, a nation. Okay, a family. So it can be a head of many things. Okay, in this particular verse, all right, when you talk about Rosh, it's, you know, height of stars, okay, the mountain. Okay, so notice it says the height of stars. Okay, stars is in, you know, again, it's used in our writings for angels. It's referred to for angels. So it's become the head. Okay, so the head, head or chief of what? Okay, the head stone of the corner, or head, and you know, or you know, in some of the other translations, or it's become the cornerstone. But in this KJV version, it's saying become the head stone or stone of the corner. So I'm just going to say the head. Now I can break down the translation stone of the corner. Now, in order to understand what the stone of the corner is, you need to understand what that word corner means. Now, corner is Concordance 6438. Now, if you think, if you're saying, hey, that's just how it means Jesus, you know, the stone they're talking about, the capstone is Jesus. Let me help you understand why that is not true. Okay. Well, at least the Jesus that you think it is not the Jesus they're talking about, okay? So let me just show you. So 6436, it comes from this concordance. The word in our language is pina. Take a look at that. So the word pina, okay, here it means corner, okay, towers, bulwarks, you know, it's another word for wall, building, structure, mean chieftain, okay, here. But here's what I find very interesting. It says a pinnacle. Let's break that word down, find out a little bit more about it. Now, in our language, if you look at that word, we look up the word corner. Oh, and here's another thing I want to show you. Before I show you that, Now, if you think I'm kidding you, because you're wondering about the stone, I just wanted to show you really quickly. I pulled an older Bible. It was a 15. I meant to show you this earlier. I pulled an older Bible. It was a 15th century version. Let me find it. Sorry, guys. A 15th century version. This is a Wycliffe Bible, and this Bible is well over 500 years old. I think it's good every now and then to pull. I like to sometimes extrapolate from the earlier translations, like older Bibles, versions of the scriptures, is because what you find is just, you find some very interesting translations. And here, even the words, because the English language was constantly changing, during the Middle Ages, it wasn't quite perfected, still isn't, because it's a corrupt language, okay? But nevertheless, you get some very interesting translations. So this Bible is actually, this was one of the earliest English Bibles, actually. It was dated back in the 1400s. So this is a 15th century Bible, and I'm pulling up Psalm here. I'm going to find it here. The verse is 22, and that verse says, give me a second here, and the language is going to be a little bit different here, so I'm going to read it to you because it's probably too small for you to understand, to see it, so I'll read it. But it says, the stone that building repruden, this is ma'ad. It's not, so made is not with an E, it's with two A's, M-double-A-D. This is made, but I'm going to say made, into the head. Head is spelled H-E-D rather than H-E-A-D, of the corner, okay? Because the English language was still evolving, so this is like Old English, okay? But what's interesting is the stone, the word stone here in this particular translation is without an E. So it's spelled, stone is S-T-O-N. You understand? So they were adding to the English language as it was evolving more, vowels. Remember, head is spelled here H-E-D. So it was still evolving. So that's why I'm saying to you, like, if you look at this word in the Shemitic language, because remember, even the English language, all languages, I believe that our language is one of the oldest, probably the oldest language on the face of this earth, family. And that's my theory, and I really strongly, believe that they say that our language is the language of the angels, because it is the ancient language that our Creator gave our people, humans, our people, that the children of Jacob. So when you look at this word in Shemitic, like I said, and you look at it with the consonants, like I said, S-T-N, and you drop that O, it's Satana, okay? So I'm just showing you this. If you're like, well, it's very interesting, because even if you look at some of the older Bibles, you'll see that some of these words are spelled completely different, because the language was still, English was still evolving. Okay, so, but I just wanted to show you that translation. I thought you'd find it interesting, because I wanted to make that point. But back to this word pina, okay? I want to digress. So, it can also mean ruler or chief. So, let's break that down again and look it up. So, we're going to use the word that it actually derived from. The word, remember, it derived from was, let's go back. See, in our language, that word is, well, I'm going to show you in a minute how it's actually spelled. But it's the word they're using for corner, okay? But in Hebrew, it's pinah. They're using that word for corner. So if we go in concordance and look up the word corner, okay, what we will get is very interesting. So we get a lot of different translations. Let me just scroll down here. And the word corner. Now you remember I had mentioned to you that word ark, and how what's interesting is in Freemasonry they use that theme of the ark all the time, and you wonder, well, what's up with the ark and that missing little stone at the top that's missing? Well, this is all relative to this. That's why I want to cover this verse, because you need to understand, in order to understand what that's all about, all this kind of like the symbolism they use, you need to understand what these words mean. An ark is just another name for it means a couple of things, but the main thing is it is another name for a people, okay? But it also means north. Okay, now you're going to say, well, what are you talking about? Well, I'm telling you, that's what it means. It means north, in the north. And I can cover that in another video. I'll try to cover that in another video because there's so much to cover right now. This could be a textbook right now. I mean, the material I'm covering right now, and I'm trying to whittle it down, you know, as much as I can. So I don't really want to get too deep into that word ark, but that's what that word means, and that word alludes to so much more, okay, in the language and the the writings of our people. But I'm not going to get into that today. But that's part of it, okay? But we're going to get a little deeper into that in a minute. But let's talk about this. So anyway, so when you look at this word corner, we get the word. Here comes this word that I think is very interesting. The word, it was spelled with an I, Pina, but no, the ancient, again, the Shemitic language, Shemitic root, the word is, the word is Pana, and it's spelled here with an A, P-A-N-A. That is in Hebrew, it's Pana. Now, one thing I want to mention to you, for some of my new subscribers, is that the sound is the root of the ancient Shemitic, Western Shemitic language. So that's why when you look at some of the concordance, you'll find a lot of the words are with an okay, and with an A, because that is the root sound of our language. Now, again, the wicked scribes, they like to play Scrabble, with not only their languages but ours. They did that with our language. So this is why you get so many different translations with so many different vowel pointings and so on. But again, it's all about understanding what you're reading. In order to do that, you need to understand the language. So again, as I had just mentioned, they're spelling it here with an I as well. So they're spelling it also with a P-I-N N-A-H, Pina, rather than Pana. Now here's what's interesting. The concordance word they used was the same concordance 6438, which is rare that you actually get the matching concordance sometimes of the translations of the actual meanings of these words. Okay, that's all part of the the filter. But for this particular word, they actually did use the same consonant, the same concordance Hebrew word, which was 6438. And in this one, it says corner, square, objects. You remember in Freemasons, you always notice that they have those squares, those tiles in black and white. In a lot of the you'll see that that symbolism. Listen, now you understand what that's all about now, okay? Where it's coming from, the origin of it, okay? And again, it says ruler, chief. Now, here's what's really interesting. What else derives from this word? If we look at this word also, it says, again, the root is P-N. But when you add the consonant, the vowel points rather, it's P-E-N, pen. And what does it say here? That means, it says for here, the word means corner. For pen, it means an angle. Okay, so that's a word play going on, brothers and sisters, if you didn't notice that. Okay, because if you look at the word down here, pana, okay, spelled P with an I, it says an angle, A-N-G-L-E, how it's being spelled, a pinnacle, a chieftain. Okay, so that's a word play for angel. Now, how do you know this? Well, I'll show you in a minute. And then notice that word pinnacle. So let's break this down and get a little deeper into it. And I want to show you some. Oh, and one other thing I want to point out before I forget. Remember, I told you the ancient Shemitic word, okay, in our language, okay, is not Pina, it's pronounced Pana, That's why they have pana. But look what that word means. Here, they're using the word pana to mean face, appear, look. Remember that video I covered on Jacob wrestling with the angel? And you remember that where have we seen that word? Did that word not come up? And what did that word mean? And now in that video, the word again, remember the prefix of the word was pin, as in pineal is in the writings of our people. You'll find in the Bible it says pineal. He called that place pineal, but you have to understand where the origin of the word comes from. It comes from this word pana, which means, and I did it in the video I covered with that word pineal. It shows that it came from this word that means face, to face. So again, and then it also means cast out. So again, understanding the language, okay, is understanding what you're reading, who that angel really is. Okay, pana, pineal, showing you right here, and it's in that video, by the way. We've seen that word before. Okay, now let's show you where that word derives from. If you don't understand that it really means an angel, the question is, who's the angel again? Okay, so let's go back and take a look. So if we go to, give me a minute here, let's go to the etymology dictionary. Bear with me here. Not the right one? No, I don't know what the right one is. Sorry, gotta find it. No, here it is. Okay, so I looked up the word pin, okay, because remember, our language is a consonantal language, so the vowel points were added by the wicked scribes. So this word, the word derives from, pana, but it means several things, but the root of the word is pin. And it can mean pin, and it can mean pen. Okay, so the vowel points are interchangeable, and I'm going to show you what I'm referring to. The vowels. So for this word, instead of typing in the whole word, pinnacle, because remember I showed it to you. I think seeing here, it also means a pinnacle, a chieftain. So we're going to use that word pinnacle to get some further understanding of what this word means, what I'm referring to. Okay, when I say it's an angel. So pin. So we look at this word pin. Where does it come from? It says mid 14th century from pin, P-I-N. Okay, pin, someone to hold someone. Remember when he wrestled? What was he doing? He was wrestling. You're holding someone. You understand where all this derives from, brothers and sisters? It is all relative. Okay, it's all connected. All right, let's keep this going. All right, that's where the word, again, you have to understand the word play here. And then it also means, from the Germanic, it means pen. And remember, here it says pen again, or pen. It says from the Latin pinna, P-I-N-N-A. So in Latin, it means pinna, P-I-N-N-A, or penna. And it can mean a feather, plume. Okay, another word for feather. In plural, okay. A wing. You feel me? Do you understand where this word is coming from? A wing, okay? Let's keep it going. So if it's a wing, what else are you going to find? That word. It's a wing, pinion, okay? Pinion, wing joint. Segment of a bird's wing. You understand? Okay. So that can also mean, derived from that word wing, pinion. Alright? Angels have wings. Okay? Keep it going. Pinnacle. Here it is. There's that word again. Pinnacle. Mountain. Peak. And this also it can also mean, when you think about mountain, you gotta think about it. There was a people that came out of a mountain. So that's why I said it also refers to people. Okay, but we ain't gonna talk about that today. We'll just keep this going from the word pinnacle. Okay, peak. Okay, so the word has several. It means a couple of things. Also means people, because he, like I said, Satana, Sata has children. Okay? Understand? Alrighty. And you get, okay, the word pen, okay, P-E-N. So, I think we covered enough of that so you understand where that word is coming from. But, this is a good one. Pineal. You've heard that term pineal gland. I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have seen some of those videos going on the YouTube tube about the pineal gland. Remember, in the Vatican, they have this cone sitting in the middle of, Vatican City, this giant pineal cone, and folks that cover this on the video, they refer that cone to the pineal gland, okay? And that is relative, right, for brain. And see, this is all part of that whole Freemasonry symbology, But again, where does it come from? That word, pana, pin, okay? And a lot of what they talk about in terms of the pineal gland is not what you think it is. And also what comes from that word, because remember where the pine cone comes from. It comes from a tree, pine tree, So there's a lot of references on this word. So here's another thing I want to cover on this. If I can find it here really quick. Alright, so then I also want to cover what the word also derives from. Cover one more thing on this. So if we look at the word, yeah, let's do this again. I'm sorry, pen. Yeah, I actually did want to cover pen for a reason, because I also wanted to show you something else that it refers to. Sorry, there's a lot that alludes to this. I may have passed it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, now it's on the next page. So that word pen also means pentacle, or from the Latin pentaculum, pentagram. Okay, now you understand where that word is coming from. Pentagram, you know what a pentagram is, right? You know who that is the symbol for. Pentateuch, what, probably completely assassinating that word, but Pentateuch, now you understand where that word Pentateuch derives from. That's why I don't use it. Pentalon, it's a Greek word. Pentecost. You know what Pentecost is mentioned in the New Testament, right? And that's a conversation, a video for another day, but that Pentecost event is not quite what they say it is. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover on that. And let's also see where that word derives from, of course. It also derives from the word Pan. Remember, Pana. And you know who Pan is, right? In Greek mythology, he is a goat, okay? But he is a goat deity with horns, okay? Now remember, that's where this word comes from. Pana, Pan, okay? The prefix of the word. Alright, folks? So that's where that word, now you understand the origins of that word. Okay? So, to give you this full translation, so you understand what it means, okay, I'm going to just read it again in the actual translation based on what I've showed you. It says, the stone, okay, the stone, or we can say the sun, which the sons rejected or cast out, cast away, is the head what? Head angel. Okay? Head corner. Or head angel son. Stone of the corner. Or you could say foundation. Angel. Head angel. Chief angel. Okay? The stone which the sun, which the sons, the sun, which the sun or Sata, which the sons, other angels, sons of God, rejected, has become the chief angel. And that's what that means. Or it can, or you can also say it as the son which the sons of God cast away or rejected, is become the head or chief of the north. Chief angel of the north, or chief head or head of the north. Okay. That's where that ark translation came from. However, that was the only person that used that, because it can, because what it's really referring to is the head of the north, king of the north, the chief, again, Lucifer. Okay, the head angel has become the head angel, the son, okay, that the sons of God cast away, has become the chief angel, Pana. Now, you don't understand, or the foundation stone. They also say cornerstone for foundation stone, okay, which basically means their foundation. They're the Freemasons, the children of Satan, okay, wicked scribes, so on. Now, we are going to, so to understand this, we're going to go a little bit further, because you need to understand what this word corner means, cornerstone. And if you don't believe what I'm saying to you, like I said, if you look at these translations, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. You see that is the most prevalent translation. Become the cornerstone. Has the sons the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Let's find out what that cornerstone is also relative to, where the origins of that word comes from. If you look up that word cornerstone, it'll tell you. It says the cornerstone or foundation stone. You understand? Because that is what these wicked, the Illuminati, Freemasons, Jesuits, the wicked scribes, this is their foundation. Christianity, this is their foundation. Their foundation is Satan, Lucifer. Okay? So that's why cornerstone or foundation stone, that's why it says the builder rejected has become the capstone. The foundation, okay, the head angel, okay, their foundation. So the cornerstone or foundation stone concept is derived from the first stone, okay, set in construction of a masonry foundation, okay. Now, remember, it mentions, again, all tied to Freemason, construction of a masonry foundation. Important, since all other stones will be set in reference to this stone, because it's the foundation stone. You understand? Determining the position of the entire structure. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I just want to cover this part that I think you'll find pretty interesting. Oh, wow. It just gets stranger and stranger. You should read this. Okay, I ain't going to read it, but you can Google Cornerstone. It talks about all kinds of stuff. I ain't gonna get into it, but you want to read it. It's pretty heavy what it means. That movie Children of the Corn. Well, that's also where that word derives from. You understand, Children of the Corn, because who's those children really are? The children of Satan. That's where the word corn means. Cornerstone, right? Corn, grain, and it talks about that here too. Regarding human and animal sacrifice. I ain't gonna get into all that, but it's just crazy. It's telling you the history of that word. It's crazy. I ain't going to get into it. But they say the truth is stranger than fiction, and it is really, I'm telling you, it's just it's so stranger than fiction. But I'll read this part. It says, talks about the Freemasons. It says, just this part right here. In Freemasonry, which grew from the practice of stonemasons, an initiate, entered apprentice, is, they got a show on television called The Apprentice, right? The initiate is placed in the northeast corner of the lodge as a figurative foundation stone. This is intended to signify the unity of the north. Remember what I said? Associated with darkness, and the east associated with light. You know, because remember what I said, in Satanism, everything's backwards, you know. So, you know, how they always refer to themselves as the sons of light, where, you know, again, the north associated with darkness, okay? Because that's where they come from. Alright, so, the whole Freemasonry thing. So, but like I said, I'm not going to read this whole thing, and I mean, it just goes on and on, you know. You can see this info on Catholic Church, the whole, oh, it's just, you know, you can Google and read it yourself. So, but I do want to cover the other word. So this word cornerstone also refers to, it's also, another word for cornerstone is the word, you ain't gonna believe this one, guess what the word also means? It also means pyramidium, okay? So let's talk about that. The word pyramidium and what that means. The word pyramidium is the uppermost piece or capstone of an Egyptian pyramid, or, you know, they have obelisk, but really it's obelisk, you know, B-E-L, you know, for Baal, B-E-L, again, understand in Shemitic language, Bel, Baal, same word, okay? So it's, you know, obelisk, not obelisk, what they call it. Again, word plays. It says in archaeological parlance, they were called Ben-Benay in the ancient Egyptian language. You remember Freemasonry, a lot of their so-called secret knowledge comes from Kemet, you know, the Hamites, where they got a lot of their knowledge from, of course. So, and this is why the pyramid this all originates from the pyramid structure. And the pyramid is tied to angels as well. That's why you see that very prevalent in this whole Freemasonry, their symbolism. You know, like the back of the dollar bill, you see the missing capstone. It's a flat, you see the flat pyramid with the missing capstone that's kind of separated with the little all-seeing eye. So that's where this is all coming from, brothers and sisters. But a pyramidium, I'll read it again. Plural is pyramidia, is the uppermost piece or capstone, okay? It is the synonym for capstone of an Egyptian pyramid or obelisk. So in other words, the capstone is the same word for pyramidium. It's also called pyramidium, and it is also referred to an Egyptian pyramid, also relative to, you know, in other words, it's that tip of the pyramid, the top, the tip, as well as the tip of a pyramid, and it's also the tip of an obelisk, or obelisk is what they like to call it. Okay, so just want you to see that, and they're showing you here what some of these look like. And there's one part of this I do want to cover here that I think is very interesting. Let me see. It covers here, yeah. A pyramidium was covered, I'm not going to read the whole thing, I just want to cover this part. A pyramid usually was covered in gold leaf to reflect the rays of the sun. So it was usually layered in gold, you know. You know, it was either the top of it was gold, or it may have been all encased in gold. But it was to reflect the rays of the sun during Egypt's Middle Kingdom. They were often inscribed with royal titles and religious symbols. So here's an example of one they're showing you here. This is just what the capstone looks like when it's removed, and you see it has the symbols. You know, this one, and sometimes they're made of granite as well, but typically they're made of gold or granite. Okay. They also say they're generally made of also some other, you know, stones. You know, limestone, dorite, and they're covered in gold, or they say, or electrum. Okay, so, and this was during the Middle Kingdom. Now, just to show you something very interesting, if you look at the Pyramid of Giza, okay, because these were also, these capstones, or the pyramidiums, what they call them, were also used to they were placed on the top of pyramids as well as obelisks. you know, or obelisks. So we're going to show you in the Pyramid of Giza. I want to show you something. You know, you see this is what it looks like today, right? But there are pictures. I found a picture like back in the 1800s of what the pyramid. Somebody took a picture back in the 1800s. Okay, what it looked like. So let me see. This is I had two pictures here just to kind of give you. It's probably not the best picture. I'm going to try to enlarge it for you a little bit. Such a small picture, you know, you don't get that much. Okay, it's kind of hard to see. But as you can see here, what's interesting about this was taken back in the 1800s. The capstone on this pyramid is missing. No one knows what happened to the capstone. Okay, it's missing on these pyramids. All the capstones are missing. You know, because it would have been placed right here. That gold top of the pyramid, that gold, it was encased with gold, would have been placed right. The top of that, you can see it's missing the capstone on this pyramid. So this is one of the pyramids of Giza. What happened to it? No one knows. Okay. I suspect it was removed because it's just not there anymore now, and they're missing off of all of them. And if you look at, I'll show you. This is another picture of it in black and white, and there's like the top of it a little bit closer where you can see. You see, it's flat. It's missing that tip, the pointed capstone. But if you look at the pyramids today, they're all missing these capstones, right? You don't see that top of that pyramid. So I suspect it was removed. Now the question is, at some point in time, they removed them. You got to wonder where they're at. Probably locked away somewhere in the Vatican or British Library or British Museums. One of the British museums. Anyway, but somebody has it. Now the thing is, the weight of, you know, if they were made of granite or gold, either way, they could have been half a ton or well over a ton. It would have been huge, very hard to lift, which is very bizarre. You know, how it got removed, no one knows, but they're just not there. But I suspect they were there at some point in history and they were removed. Now, because you can see there's not one here. And you can also see here where what they did was they did some construction on these to repair them. I mean, if you can look at this video, this particular pyramid, how it looks like they did some work, restoration on this pyramid to replace probably the capstone or what you know, missing bricks as well that were missing when someone removed the capstone. But what's interesting on this one is this is the one I wanted to show you that I showed you in that photo. It's the same one that's missing the capstone, and you see this little, looks like a lightning rod or a flag of some sort of lightning rod. That's there, and that's how you know it's the same pyramid. That's the same pyramid over here. It's not here. This is the one. You see how it's flat? It's missing the top. I want to give you a really top. You know, I zoomed in to give you a picture of it. There it is. It's that little lightning rod. That's what it looks like. There's some sort of flag of some sort. But anyway, it's missing. It's flat. There's no capstone. So wonder what happened to it. I suspect they have it somewhere. Interesting, right? So so these pyramids are all relative. Okay, and what you find all over the world are these pyramids is because everywhere these pyramids have been over the world, including in Kemet, the angels have been. Okay, X marks the spot. That's where they have been. Okay, their technology. No one knows how these pyramids were built. Okay, because they know they were not built by humans. Okay. I mean, when you look at the massive size, the accuracy of them, you know, in terms of the size, the dimensions of them. So it just helps you understand the angel technology. They received help to build all of this. Okay. So, and this is the symbol, what I wanted to show you. I think it's really important, of what you find. Oh, and I think, let me show you that dollar bill. It's here somewhere. And there's the dollar bill, okay, with the missing capstone. The flat, yeah, it's kind of separated with all CNI. Yeah, I understand where all this is coming from. Okay, and what else is interesting I wanted to point out to you is that if you notice the people people pretending to be us, the Khazars, they call the Jews. Their symbol is, they call it not the Star of David. It's actually, the symbol of Lucifer. It's a star. It is interlocking. I was talking to this guy before I say what I would like to say. I was talking to this young man, and what I thought was very interesting is I was trying to explain to him, some of our people's history, and even though he really had no understanding of what I was trying to explain to him, when I asked him about here it is right here, they call, in the scriptures, the Star of Rephaim, but it's actually the Star of Lucifer, right? That they use, people pretending to be us, the synagogue of Satan uses, Sata. The young man said, I said, do you know what that so-called Star of David, which is not the Star of David, is? And he says, oh yeah, you mean he said the interlocking triangles. So even though he had no clue what I was really talking about, what I found was very interesting was the young man understood. He didn't say pyramids, he said interlocking triangles. They're pyramids, of course, but he just referred to them as interlocking triangles, and I thought that was very, very interesting, because that's what they are too, as well as pyramids, facing in different directions. But what is interesting is, back to the synagogue of Satan, is this part of their their worship, of their father? Absolutely. And how do you know this? I don't know if you guys are aware, but our land is, it's been defiled, okay, by, the people living in our lands pretending to be us, and, these Khazars. And what is very disturbing is that, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, a couple months ago, there were fires, Israel was burning. They had massive fires. They had to evacuate a few thousand people, because they were going on in southern Israel, and that's because the Most High He is beginning the purge, okay, of our lands, of the people that have corrupted, and defiled our lands, because He's preparing for the gathering of our people, children of Yaakov, children of Jacob. But yeah, there were massive fires going on a little over 2 months ago, which was very, very, very interesting. But again, this is just prophecy being fulfilled. The Most High is paving the way for our people, brothers and sisters. But back to the synagogue of Satan, in terms of their worship of their father, do they worship him? Absolutely. Is it going on unfortunately, happening in the land of our people? Of course. And where is it going on? In Israel. If you look at, I don't know if you guys ever seen what the Supreme Courthouse looks like in Israel, but if you look at it, I'm going to give you a picture of it over here. Okay, so this is a picture of the courthouse, Supreme Courthouse in Jerusalem. Okay, Israel. Okay. If you look, and again, I couldn't blow this up because the pictures are really small on this website I found, but there is so much, Freemason symbology going on in that courthouse. It is crazy, and not to mention, obviously, Satanism. For example, this is a picture of the courthouse, okay, an aerial view, and if you can see over here, I don't know if you can see this, the picture's not very large, but you can go online, if you Google, you can, Israel Supreme Court, your courthouse, you should probably bring up, hopefully, and see some of these pictures, find some of these. But this here, you see this building? There's a pyramid structure sitting right there, okay? Right there at the top. Okay, so they got this pyramid right at the top of their courthouse. I'll show you some other pictures. A little bit, let me see if I can get a picture of this a little bit closer. Okay. And this is that particular pyramid I just showed you sitting on top of the courthouse. This is the pyramid, okay, with the all-seeing eye. You see that right there sitting on the building? Okay, so, is our land defiled? Oh, you would not, you couldn't possibly imagine. Is our land defiled? Okay, and here's another picture of it from the inside of the courthouse. As you can see, the pyramid structure at the top. Okay, with all seeing eye. Stranger than fiction, right? And then there's that Freemason geometry. We won't talk about any of this stuff, but and of course, who donated the building? You know, Dorothy. Guess. Dorothy Rothschild Grove. The Rothschilds. Rothschilds. Okay. Oh, and you can't have a pyramid, okay, without what? An obelisk. And there it is. As you have all over through the New World disorder structures, including in, unfortunately, the lands of our people. You know, with the capstone they have. You know, this is also, a lot of people also tie this to the phallus symbol, okay, because that's also what the word means. If you, the word pana, also from that root comes another word of a male genitalia. We ain't gonna talk about that, but if you ever wonder where that word derived from, now you know, okay, because that's just another word for progeny, okay, and what progeny are they talking about? So that's pretty, you know, scary, right? Yeah, so we ain't gonna get into all this because it's a family channel, but just so you understand, you know, the origin of words, and yes, brothers and sisters, they do have meaning. So that covers it for now. I'm going to do another video probably within the next week to talk about the prophecy of Abraham, which I think you guys are going to find pretty interesting, and also for the so-called history month that they give us. I don't call it my history month, but I do want to cover some of our history. I'm going to cover another video that talks about us in the Americas in the you know, over 400 years ago when the invaders came, and talk about that history as well. That's really tied to the way of life and how our people were in observance, and we're going to cover some of that I think you're going to find very, very interesting, as well as the prophecy of Abraham, that particular video. So once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and shalom.